Good evening, everyone. We are a group from Math B, and tonight we will discuss the human flourishing as reflected in progress and development. To start with, let me explain to you what is human flourishing. Human flourishing involves the rational use of one's individual, human potentialities, including talents, abilities, and virtues in the pursuit of his freely and rationally chosen values and goals. Human civilizations in the development of science and technology. Based on Aristotelian ethics, it emphasizes the intrinsic worth of health in all aspects of life. So, ang human flourishing is ang pag-unlad sa isa ka tao or ang pag-develop sa iyang kakayahan, sa iyang talento, ang pagsulod niya sa mga relationships, pag-engage niya sa mga activities nga makabenepisyo sa iyaha. So, in short, human flourishing is the ability to live a good life. Interestingly, there is a disparity or pagkakaiba between Eastern and Western civilization. So, naa sila iba't ibang konsepto sa human flourishing. So, in Western civilization, they tend to focus more on the individual developments, while in Eastern civilization, they are more on community-centric. So, sa Western civilization is kanang gagrow sila individually. Wala sila pakaalam sa isa't isa, murag kanya-kanya lang sila. While in Eastern civilization, naa sila unity. Nagtutulong-tulungan sila. And I can say that human flourishing is deeply intertwined with goal setting relevant to science and technology. Kay kabalo man ta kung unsa jud gamit sa technology sa tuwa nowadays. 'Di ba? We all know that technology changes us and the world around us in countless ways. It eases our labor, cures diseases, provides abundant food and clean water, involves communication and travel across the globe, and expands our knowledge of the natural world and the cosmos. So, ang technology naging part yun na sa tong kinabuhi na. In the succeeding article, Jason Edward Hickel, an economic anthropologist whose research focuses on ecological economics, global inequality, imperialism, and political economy, criticizes the failure of growth and development efforts eradicating poverty 7 decades ago. But more importantly, he offers a nonconformist perspective towards growth and development. According to him, we must forget developing poor countries. It's time to de-develop rich countries. De-develop means that rich countries should slow down in their consumption so that poor nations can catch up. Heads of state are gathering in New York to sign the UN's new Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. Unsa man ning SDG? The SDG or Global Goals are a collective of 17 interlinked global goals designed to be a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. The SDGs were set up in 2015 by the United Nations General Assembly. Its main objective is to eradicate poverty by 2030. So, na sila'y gina-target nga year. Given all the fanfare, one might think that SDGs are about to offer a fresh plan for how to save the world. But beneath all the hype, it's business as usual. So, kinsa magulita ang mag-invest og effort, time, money para mapaunlad ang bansa, akusa nilang kanakusang loob nila ba nga wala sila benepisyo nga makuha, di ba? Wala man. It's kasagaran dyan na business, dyan na business. Since 1980, the global economy has grown by 380%. Pero ang number sa mga people nga namuhay sa kahirapan nga magasweldo lag $5 or kung mahigit kumulang 250 pesos a day has increased by more than 1.1 billion. So, dako jud, that's 17 times the population of Britain. In other words, growth isn't an option anymore. We've already grown too much. Scientists are now telling us that we're blowing past planetary boundaries at breakneck speed. And the hard truth is that this global crisis is due almost entirely to overconsumption in rich countries. Maunang gusto ni paring Hickel nga dili isa nato ipaangaton ang mga poor countries kay maglisod man ta, murag imposible na mangud siya mahitabo kung patuloy nga mag-angat ang mga rich countries. Kay kung patuloy man gud nga mag-angat ang mga rich countries, the more man gud sila gaangat, the more pud nga dagko ilang pangangailangan, the more nga dagko sila makonsum nga mga resources. So murag wala dili na nato mataganong opportunities ang mga poor countries nga moangat. Kay imbes nga katong mga resources nga pwede na to ihatag sa poor countries, makuha man to sa mga rich countries, kaya habang gaangat sila dagko pog resources ang ilahang mga makonsum. So and afford man pud nila, so murag wala ni opportunities ang poor countries, maglisod na sila angat. Mo lang gusto ni paring Hikel i-encourage nato ang mga rich countries nga dapat hinahinay lang mo konsum, kay dili lang man kami tao diri, charot. Dapat hinahinay lang mo konsum kay maglisod nag-angat ang uban. So continue the discussion, let me call on Miss Catherine Adang.
What does this mean for our theory of development? Economist Peter Edward argues that instead of pushing poor countries to catch up the rich ones, we should be thinking of ways to hit rich countries to catch down to more appropriate levels of development. If you are capable or able of giving help and assistance to those who are in needs, then do not just stand still and make a move. It is not always that those who are in less fortunately society will adjust to fit in or adopt the conform of habit by the higher ups. So, ang mga rich countries dapat ang mag-adjust and i-reduce nila ang ilang mga consumption para maka-catch up ang mga poor countries. To Peter Edward, the key to lessen the poverty is to share the burdens and benefits between all members of society. Social, economic, political, and material inequalities intersect and act as barriers to development. We must address relative poverty within and between countries to narrow the gaps in access, opportunities, and outcomes between rich and poor. Similarly, women and children and other traditionally marginalized groups such as people with disabilities, older people, people living in rural areas, racial, religious, ethnic, migrant and indigenous minorities, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender individuals must be enabled to overcome and the additional hurdles they face. And if we imagine if the society will help each other, they will succeed as one country. Therefore, as countries get richer and escape from mass poverty, the poverty rates become more sensitive to inequality and less sensitive to growth. We should look at society where people live long and happy lives at relatively low levels of income and consumption, not as basket cases that need to be developed towards Western models, but as exemplars of efficient living. So this means that some of excess income and consumption we see in the rich world yields improvement in quality of life that are not captured by the life expectancy or even literacy rates. But even if we look at measures of overall happiness and well-being in addition to life expectancy, a number of low and middle income countries rank highly. Means those people who are in the low and middle class people rates higher by the search of contentment and happiness well-being. In light of this, perhaps we should regard such countries not as underdeveloped but rather as appropriately developed. And maybe we need to start calling on rich countries to justify their excesses or consumption. So, for Peter Edward, dili sukdanan ang presyo para makahatag kag kalipay o ma-appreciate ka sa tao. Like for an example, one of your friend celebrate his or her special day. Gi-invite ka because you are special to him or her. So, your friend is gipangita imong presensya, but you refuse to attend tungod kay naulaw ka, kay laging walang-wala ka. At the moment, you cannot afford to buy a gift for your friend. So, what do you expect nga bation sa imong friend after you decline the invitation? Syempre, ma-disappoint siya because for him or her, your presence is enough to complete the special day of your friend. Dili ang regalo iyang gusto nga nung gi-invite ka, but you yourself is. So, that's the essence of friends, right? So, not just in friends, but in family also and your special someone. People that are in low levels don't need a luxurious things to accept you, but being with you is what they want. So, we should look at societies where people live long and happy lives as an example of efficient living, even if their income and consumption is low, but they are still live their lives happy and contented, and do not see them as a basket cases that need to be developed, but appropriately developed.
How do we really need to live long and happy lives? Now, all of you listen carefully and realize something. Nahitabo ba nga you question yourself of what really is the purpose in your life? Unsa bay imong pangandoy sa kinabuhi? Or if ever you already had achieved your dreams, you also ask yourself, unsa pa kay kulang? Have you ever felt that kanang nana sa imuhan tanan but you still feel empty? According to the authors Robert and Edward Skedelsky, our ceaseless pursuit for more and more things is driven by the insatiability of wants, an innate part of our humanity that we simply can't part with. Today's Western capitalistic societies suffer from a severe perversion, the fundamental desire for more. While once condemned as evil in earlier civilization, insatiability has now become the ideal that we must strive towards if we want to be considered successful. According to the book of How Much is Enough by Robert and Edward Skedelsky, practically summarize, first, Western societies are richer than ever, but this has not translated to less work. Imagine you live in a world in which you spend most of your time doing the things you enjoy and would work only if you wanted to. Indeed, a life of rewarding leisure should already be a possibility for everyone. Instead, however, most of us still have to work very hard to meet our needs and struggle to find the time for recreation. And even those who could afford to live the life of luxury and leisure often still work, well over 40 hours a week in pursuit of greater wealth. That's how that really hits us people. Kung ang usa ka tawo dakog pangandoy, he needs to work hard and struggle a lot to achieve his goals. The second one is contemporary capitalistic societies are stricken by an undying desire to acquire more than we have. In short, materialistic, insatiable, og dili makontento. May I ask, how do you often change your phone cover? How often do you buy new trendy clothes? Or how often do you buy some motor or bicycle parts? Ginabuhat mo ni because you have to or you just want to. You already have one but you keep on replacing and changing it because you are not satisfied anymore with the old one. How much is enough argues that the modern world is characterized by insatiability, an inability to say enough is enough, and the desire for more and more money. The book argues that progress should be measured not by the traditional yardstick of growth or per capita incomes, but by the 7 elements of the good life. The first one is the health. The second one is the security, the respect, personality, harmony with nature, friendship, and the last one is the leisure. This is the reason why they highlight banning advertising, for which it attracts the attention of people, persuading the consumers to enjoy their products. The desire of people to become in, or we call it trendy, makes them competitive to the other sectors, because they believe that if they possess the material that is newly published, they were considered to be in high class or luxurious level. If we compare from now and century years back then, the flourishing of human in terms of attitude marks a long difference. Most of the human nowadays are needy, and that is one of the society's problem that needs to be acted immediately. Because if we do not act soon, all our hard-won gains against poverty will evaporate.
As a recap for this discussion, human flourishing is an act of doing and living well as an individual with rational chosen values and goals in life. According to Hickel, forget developing poor countries, it's time to develop rich countries. In response to this article, the US Sustainable Development Goals or SDG serve a blueprint to achieve a better and sustainable future for all, with the main objective is to reduce and eradicate poverty. With respect to economist Peter Edward, instead of pushing poor countries to catch up with the rich ones, we should be thinking of ways to get rich countries to catch down to more appropriate level of development. For him, it is better to grow as one rather than pressuring those who are in less fortunate to get along what the higher ups achieve. In short, unity and economic sensitivity is the key to a better progress of one's country. And lastly, based on the book authored by Robert and Edward Skidelsky entitled How Much is Enough, this discusses about human beings' contentment of living and highlights the factors that may challenge the rational mindset of human as they get exposed of today's society's progressive development. That would be all. Thank you, and may you have learned something for today's discussion. Again, this is the Group 2 and we're signing off.